Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Midweek Metagame. I'm your host, Gabriel Nassif, joined by my regular co-host, Edgar.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Doing good, yeah. It's been a good week. Back in the swing of things before the holidays, but it's been fun.
Nice. I had a bit of a rough week with the jet lag since coming back from Worlds in Seattle, but still played some Magic. We both played some Magic. There are some cool tournaments this weekend. There's Energy Champs. I think it's an invitational tournament. 24 players, modern and standard. So we're gonna take a look at that. We're gonna talk standard, a bit of modern. I played my first game of Contraption on Magic Online, aka Premodern. So we'll talk a bit about that as well. Lots to get into before we do all that. Uh, our content will always be free, but if you want to support us, you can do so for as little as $1 per episode on Patreon, patreon.com/midweekmetagame. You can also give us follows on social media, Twitter, Twitch, all that good stuff. And check out my sponsors, TTG Player and Ultimate Guards. That being said, another week since Worlds. Not as much lesson as you would think, whether it's on the ladder or in MTGO results. There was a lot of lessons though in the NRG Champs, 24 players. I think 18 played Is It Lesson. I know the winner played Is It Lesson. I'm not sure if the top 8 was standard, modern, mixed, but clearly people were, you know, I guess excited by the deck or defaulted to the deck. I haven't not played enough modern to know if the deck is still strong, if people have adapted, if we just ran hotter than the sun at Worlds, or if people just rather play their thing. But I know you've played some standard too. What do you think?
Yeah, so the energy event I think might be riding on the coattails of the world's results a bit, just because I think their deck submission deadline was like fairly soon after that, so they didn't get a lot of time. If I'm understanding correctly, I'm not 100% sure there. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of development in standard for the past couple weeks. I had taken a bit of a break from it just to kind of unwind, but from what people were telling me, some of my friends who are just playing standard on Moto or on Arena Ladder, is that the metagame got fairly hostile towards lessons, and that caused a fairly big shift where some other decks started popping up again, and lessons numbers are maybe dwindling a bit. We definitely see on the Magic Online results that there's not a lot of lessons going on there, but like you said, there was 18 copies in the Energy event, and ended up taking the whole event down. Although I don't know what their specific format record was, and I know that there was a small team of them playing that version of the deck, or that exact list rather. But yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of unknowns, I would say. Demir being an ever standout, especially on Moto. I think there's just a lot of Demir enthusiasts on Moto, and it can be kind of hard to tell whether or not the deck's actually performing well or if it's just very popular. But I see numbers rising there, and I mean, it is a matchup that we identified as being one of the more difficult matchups in our testing. So maybe they kind of tune some numbers, and they're coming at lessons with a little bit more force and taking their rightful metagame share.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the list. I don't see anything especially hateful. Few annals in the sideboard, cards like Rest in Peace in blue-white control or Strategic Betrayal in blue-black. Doesn't strike me as anything too special. I just played a tiny bit on the ladder, like 10, 11 matches. I think I literally played against less than 0 times in, yeah, like maybe 10, 15 matches total. Um, I got a few decks out of my system, a few brews that I didn't really have time to test for Worlds. The Shrine deck, I played a couple matches, was that in-house. Lost to Blue Red, Andrew Cuneo Mono Black Ugin deck. I played that today. It was actually decent. I played a few matches. I didn't lose a match, but I didn't play against anything super aggressive or any blue-red variants. So hard, hard to get a good idea. I agree that the energy champs, people probably didn't have time to test, and when 3/4 of the field is a lessons probably gonna win, whether it's the best deck or not.
Right.
I don't know
And
if
it's
you
a
had.
small event. There's going to be a lot of variance with the metagame shares when it comes to those, anyways.
Yeah, I didn't click every list. I don't know if you did. I was curious what the 6 non-lessons players were playing.
Yeah, so it was 3 reanimator decks, two I think Naya like Luna decks,
Naya
uh,
Luna.
or
You
Yuna
know,
rather.
okay.
Uh, and then I don't know what the last list was. I don't remember, or maybe like a couple Is It prowess lists. I'm not 100% sure. Oh, sorry, no, there was 2 Jeskai control lists. That's what the other ones were.
Okay.
So 2 Jeskai control, 1 Naya Yuna, and 3 reanimator, I think, and then 18 lesson stacks.
Yeah. I think Reanimator is actually not a good choice if you want to attack the lesson. It was one of the matchups we were the most scared of, but I'm not even sure if it was justified in the first place. And I feel like it's a matchup that's pretty easy to solve for. Is it lesson? I think Annul is pretty strong against them in small numbers because the Saga is their best card. I think having access to a bunch of Lantern is really good against them. And just being a little more used to the matchup too. I think I'd be more worried about a deck like Jeskai Control actually, which I routinely make fun of. Or you mentioned what's the you were talking, or maybe even a blue black list was more annoying cards like strategic betrayal maybe in the main, or healthy amounts of annul and whatnot, than the quote unquote anti lesson deck, the reanimator deck that was supposedly good against lessons that we were worried about anyways.
Yeah, and another thing about playing the reanimator deck right now to combat lessons is that you're going to get all the splash hate from basically every card that people are playing for lessons as well. Like, there's definitely an uptick in the number of lanterns, rest in pieces, ghost vacuums, all that stuff like you mentioned, and it's going to be a bigger blow for that reanimator deck than it is going to be for lessons, I think.
Yeah, I know we did quite well against Jeskai Control Worlds, but I honestly feel like Shiko Abrades was a little scary. Most lists had 1 or 0 braid in the main, no exercise, nothing too annoying. But I feel like just upping these numbers a tiny bit, playing a couple of braids and maybe even an exercise in the main would go really really long way. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
totally agree. I think one thing that people are doing that is a mistake is that people are trying to shoehorn these hate cards into strategies that are just inherently bad against the lessons deck. Like if you're playing some sort of, 25 creature deck that's weak to shocks and terminates and stuff like that, and just accruing card advantage and killing your guys, you're not going to beat the lessons deck with a couple graveyard hate cards. Like it's not going to be enough. But like you said, the Jeskai controls or the Demir mid range, these archetypes that have, kind of already a decent game plan against the lessons deck, just upping the numbers of whatever relevant cards you have it might be able to swing the tides in your favor, I think.
yeah. Was our win rate at Worlds like 65, 66? I think we talked about it last
I
week. I
th-
forget.
think by the end of day 2, the monument version was like 58. Um,
Okay.
I think that was the final for the monument version, because I think overall the deck had like a 54, and then it was like 58 for monument and 52 for non-monument, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to start playing a decent bit of standard. I say we. I've had I don't know. I messed around a bit. I actually played lessons in modern this week. I figured, why not try the deck? It was kind of busted in standard. Maybe it's good enough for modern, and I didn't tweak it that much. I played a few fables. I had maybe some counter spells in the sideboard. I had a few modern cards, but the shell was there, and I went free and free in a challenge. Didn't feel too bad. I think I ran it back in the league and went 0-2 drop and decided, okay, maybe it's not worth pursuing, but kind of shows how powerful it is. It wasn't even, it wasn't even that even in a format like Modern.
No,
Else,
totally.
yeah, yeah. The
And I think there's still a lot of room to be, or a lot of wiggle room with building the lessons deck. I know we've talked about it, like the shell being tight, but you can still fine tune a lot of these numbers, and it's gonna have a big impact, especially with people playing different hate cards. We saw some innovation in the NRG deck lists, where they weren't just cut and paste from the versions that we played at Worlds. We saw copies of RAL, um, you know, main deck copies of Soul Guide Lantern and a Null, which I think both can be reasonable. One person played 4 copies of Origin of Metal Bending in the sideboard, which could be a particularly strong sideboard card in the new metagame, especially with people, sideboarding cards like River Churn Monument against you or different artifact hate pieces as well, and that maintains your lesson count. So a lot of wiggle room. I did actually end up booking my flight this week for Atlanta officially, so I'm gonna be in the streets working on standard for the next couple weeks at least, and until I find a compelling reason not to, I'll probably be working on lessons.
Yeah, the green splash is actually something we considered for Worlds. We're mentioning heritage reclamation. We didn't mention the green lesson at the time, but we're thinking about playing the verges, the blue green verge and the red green verge tap for blue and red first. So that part's kind of nice. The downside is that it makes your blue red verge much worse. The player who played the origin of meta bending one was breeding pool and red green verge, I think. So
Yep.
that makes sense. It's still more damage between breeding pool and the multiversal passage, but yeah, it's nice to get rid of talent. We were thinking, an annul and a braid, a lantern. That was my instinct. That's what I played was on the ladder a bit, just one of each of these cards in the main deck, and basically just swapping numbers around between main and sideboard. Um, Going back to adding broadside barrage, I see your list was bit similar. The list you tried, you had a couple of nulls in the main, um, as well as 2 barrage in the sideboard and more lanterns as well for lantern in the sideboard. So I don't think
Yeah.
there's a ton of wiggle room or innovation, but just kind of fine tuning the numbers and just getting more reps, learning the matchups. Never easy to sideboard with a deck like that.
Yeah, not easy to sideboard, not easy to play the games either. Yeah, the specific card choices might not have a lot of options for, but your exact 60 card configuration in every matchup could change quite a bit. So figuring that out. Yeah, like you see on the screen here, if you're watching on YouTube, this is the list I've been playing on ladder. I think that I would like to avoid splashing if possible. I think that's just kind of generally a good rule of thumb, but especially in the standard, the mana bases are nothing to be desired. So I definitely don't want to play green unless I feel like it's absolutely necessary. So right now I'm just playing 2 copies of a null on the main deck. It's been pretty good just because against basically every deck in the format, it has a relevant target, and even though it's not great game one, sometimes you basically always end up keeping it in anyways because it's going to be good after board against every single deck. But even against the decks that are kind of more unassuming, you can still target, an Innkeeper's Talent or um, out of Visual Looting, there's a lot of good targets, or against Sultai Reanimator, you can hit the Saga. So, never a super dead card, and you do have a lot of rummaging as well to get rid of it when it's bad, and when it's good, it's fantastic. It's one
Yeah.
of the highest impact cards you can play in the mirror against some of these other decks. So, I've been pretty happy with those so far, and then yeah, I've been respecting the blue black matchup again, playing some more copies of Broadside Barrage, another copy of Quench, which I think is pretty good there against Tidebinder Mage. Um, Although I haven't really played against Demir much on the arena ladder specifically, it's really popular on Moto, so just choosing to respect it.
Yeah, and all gets the curiosity in that matchup too, which is nice. Usually it's the
Right.
kind of card that's gonna be bad in these mid-range matchups, but they happen to have a curiosity, so you can get that as
A
well.
pretty premium target, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that matchup it's a little bit awkward just because having a situational card can be really tough when they have like a deep cavern backdraw, for example, or a duress draw. But you got to take your licks with that matchup. I think like if they just have a good combination against your hand, it's going to be tough no matter what.
Yeah, it's tough when you're rummaging too to know which card to loot away. Sometimes you gotta play the guessing game, and it can definitely backfire. But yeah, not super different from what we played at Worlds. The list that won the Energy Champs had one Raw in the main deck over the Force Monument. I was a little surprised because I felt like Monument was really good in the mirror. Not that Raw is bad in the mirror, but Monument's just cheaper and snowballs really fast. Um, we had we were considering one or two Rawls in the sideboard. I was kind of high on that card for a long time. I feel like it's a card I've just lost to so much in sideboard games against the various iterations of blue red in the past year that I really wanted to play that card. But then I started looking at the matchups, the decks we expected, the in and outs, and it didn't make a ton of sense. It felt like it was more a luxury than a card that was really needed, especially when we started testing the control matchups, and these matchups were just perfectly fine. So, do you have any idea why they might have gone was Raw or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think maybe the logic was just that they thought the card monument was going to be more heavily taxed than it was previously. Maybe an uptick in the copies of a braid and stuff and a null. It is nice that Rao dodges that, but I think that Rao kind of occupies a similar space to Quantum Riddler, and I don't really see a super compelling reason to play it over more copies of Riddler. And after playing Worlds and after playing more with a deck on ladder, I don't really feel like you need more than a couple alternate win conditions.
Yeah, maybe it's just good in the mirror. I mean, you can't really counter it, especially if you're, on that level where, as you said, you're expecting people to play cards like Annul, Braid, and Lantern, and I mean, those are the cards I thought of. So maybe other people were maybe the people playing Raw in the main were on that next level of anticipating that and wanting a threat. Like we're not super good at getting rid of it. When I say we, I'm saying the Is It Lessons deck.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, if you play it on a board where there isn't an otter token, I think that your odds of untapping it or like pulling pretty far ahead when you untap with it is pretty high. The issue is that when there's an otter token, there's basically not a super compelling mode. You could cash in for your card, and then they just get a free attack if you don't have a removal spell, or if you do just make an otter, it's pretty easy for them to just kill the Row on the backswing. So that can be tough sometimes, but maybe more often than not, that's not what's going to end up happening. And you can board in such a way where you perhaps respect creatures more, have a little bit more removal for Grand and otter tokens, and then your routes become better.
Yeah, it's tough. I could see it the one mana losing you the game for not being a monument because they could just have if they've got artist monument going, they can just draw a bunch of cards, use boomerang
It's a whole
basics on
extra
your
turn.
roll. Yeah,
Yeah.
and seems yeah, I don't know. Maybe they were worried about like too much main decade and one little insurance there.
One
Um,
card I do want to try for the mirror is Frostcliff Siege. I know it's another card that gets tagged by a null, but it does at least dodge the artifact hate, and we definitely identified that as the scariest card out of the blue red, prowess deck or whatever you want to call it, the looting deck. Um, and it's just kind of like a really scary card for this monument deck. And even in the mirror, I played against Justin Shable at Worlds, and he had one copy in his lessons deck, and he had a turn where he resolved it, and then for the rest of the game, his otter tokens were dealing me 2 or 3 points of damage. And even though I was ahead on cards, he was able to get over the finish line with just all that extra chip damage that I couldn't really do anything about. So that could be something worth exploring too.
yeah, I remember you telling me that. No, not even with Riddlers or Any other creatures? Just the otters, and I guess Hasty Grand's not the worst.
Hasty Grand.
You get the loot trigger right away.
Yeah, and in non-mirror matches, it's possible you do the other mode too, and you just start getting some cards off your otter tokens and Grands. Like that could come up as well. Um, I know the looting deck basically always puts it on the haste mode, but we might have a little bit more flexibility with that if it's not a matchup where we have to kill quick.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really know where to go with that standard format, honestly. Besides jamming a lot of games with lessons, which I did a tiny bit, but I didn't want to just play lessons all stream it all week. But might have to at some point. Um,
Yeah, the other non-lesson decks that I think are intriguing. So you mentioned Jeskai Control already. I think Blue Eye Control kind of falls in that same camp. Like I think just a control deck respecting lessons can be pretty scary for the lessons deck. So that could be a solid choice, and then you still have good game against the all the green decks. Um, but I think the decks that have proved scariest that are not lessons are probably the Aura decks, and we're seeing a lot of we saw the innovation with the black build at Worlds from the Handshake team. They had a good win rate against the deck, and I think we've seen some newer builds pop up online as well that could be decent. Um, I don't know if 4 copies of Innkeeper's Talent is stock or not in every build, but that's a card that's pretty scary for the Lessons deck sometimes if you can level it up early and makes a lot of their sorcerer speed removal a little bit worse. Um, and I've been seeing more copies of Tyvar, which is also a potentially annoying card too.
yeah, I remember the few matches I played was Mad. I'm not sure that a version was Innkeeper Talented. That card could be good. I forget. I think Tivar was just too little too late. But the Talon is interesting. I can't remember if I had that card in my deck when he 6-0'd me. That was the very first matches we played was the Is
The
It
first
Lessons
set, the
deck.
on
Yeah,
set.
yeah. The set that got us excited and oh yeah, there's also the I still explore decks. Maybe that could be cool one to try. I don't know if you have an opinion on any of these builds, the kind of
I
black
haven't.
green mid range or
Oh, is that the Ben Stark deck or is this a different deck?
no, I think different deck. Ben Stark had the. I mean,
He
there's
has
a
like
there's
dragons, I
there's
think.
like yeah, there's like a million, basically a million versions. You can play a million cards. You can pick from a bunch of different angles. Um, but
It's black green mid range stuff.
yeah,
One card that has been cast against me a lot online now that you mention it. So I played against some black green and Sultai Dragon decks, and also out of the Reanimator decks. Is that I've been getting Urgent Necropseed a lot on Arena. I don't know if that card is if I'm just noticing or if it's that card's having an uptick, but that's a pretty powerful card against the Lessons deck. Sometimes you think you're super far ahead, and then they kill your creature, your talent, and your monument, and then all of a sudden you're back at parity. So that card's been kind of annoying for me.
yeah. Ben Stark had two in his main. I think I was a little worried when I was looking at his list. I was like, wow, that card is sweet. That card is nice. Um, but I think I don't know. It's not like that easy to set up, that easy to get max value, and even if you
Hmm.
do, just the monument a lot of time will pay for itself. Maybe get you even a couple cards by the time they get rid of it. So
Right.
you might just still be playing catch up. I wonder if it's maybe a little worse in practice than it sounds in theory. But yeah, standard is in a interesting place, I guess, was probably Is It Lesson still being the deck. It's really hard to get a read, like, because of these Magic Online results. People just yeah, just so little lessons on Magic Online and so little lesson on the ladder. So it's hard to get a read. Have you been winning a lot? Because when I played the little I played, I won 4 or 5 matches, and then I think I ended up losing to a blue red deck with Slick Shot. I can't remember if they were playing I think they were playing the lesson package. So I kind of lost a mirror-ish lessons deck, except they had Slick Shot, and I don't think they had Artist Talent and Monument. I'm not even sure Slickshot is good in the matchup. They just probably just drew good. They had Octopus Form too, that kind of stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think I probably just drew poorly, but whatever. Has your win rate been good? Have you been mostly crushing?
Yeah, I've been mostly crushing. I mean, it's still arena ladder. Like I haven't even been in Mythic for the whole time either, so it's hard to tell. Um, but yeah, I think the whispers of Lessons' demise is probably a little bit premature. I still have pretty high opinion of the deck, but I mean, I'd be excited to be proven wrong. Like the next the next two spotlight series are still they're like 3 weeks away or something, so there's still a lot of time for development there. And I know we talked a lot of gloom about the next PT, but I feel like there's a lot of these decks that are kind of close, and that maybe a breath like a new fresh set with some better mana bases for a lot of these decks could breathe some life into the format, even if Lessons is maybe a little bit too good. Um, I don't know if a mana base changes enough to save something like Bant Airbending. Maybe that one's a little too far gone, but could help some of these other decks.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the joke that the that's gonna get the most help is Blu-ray lessons because you get Steam vents. So
Steam vents, yeah. That's true.
so these
I did
new
kind of forget about that.
yeah. Um, but yeah, the Bant Turbine thing, I'm not a huge believer even was the better mana base.
It's
Um,
gonna there are a couple color combinations right now that are just completely illegal to play. Like green white and blue white are kind of pretty tough to set up like a functional deck. So maybe that could open up some avenues, but I don't even know if any of these strategies would be that effective. But like I could see like Jeskai or a four color control deck getting marginally better mana base, or maybe some of these green X or Abori decks, or um, I guess Demir already has Water Grave, right? So not that one.
yeah, the blue-white control mana base is playable. Hallow's Fountain would be nice. It's especially good if you're playing these blue-white flash decks, the blue-white kind of permanent matter decks.
Right.
These mana bases are really yeah, borderline unplayable right now. Same for white green. Whether yeah, I'll definitely be you know revisiting my birds
A
deck.
little life gain. Oh, the
Uh,
birds deck.
yeah, I actually played a bit of
Forgot
live
about
game
the birds
today.
deck.
It wasn't um especially exciting. What one card that's cool against the Talon deck is Requisition Raid. That's the removal spell with Spree, where you can get an artifact, an enchantment, and put a +1/+1 counter on all your creatures. So it's like one white, and then each of the Spree mode. I think it's called Spree. Is no, it's not called Spree. The free steps ahead thing is it Spree?
I think so. Is
Okay,
it
yeah,
not?
it's probably Spree. Anyways, so yeah, for up to 4 mana, you can get a rid of an artist talent, a monument. So that card was already kind of good against the old blue red Cauldron deck. There's already a card I mean deck. I played a little more with the Cuneo mono black Ugin deck today, but I didn't run into any blue red, and that was the bad matchup, the supposedly bad matchup when he mentioned the deck, and it is a deck I played like two match of in the house and lost and moved on. Same for Shrine. I think I played two matches against blue red with both these decks, lost both, and decided to move on. So the yeah, the Black Wave was kind of cool. You play Hedron Archive, you ramp into Ugin, you have some Candy Trail, Devious Cover Up, some spot removal, some discard spells. Not a bad shell, but probably nothing special against the Blue Red Menace. Um,
Devious cover up is a card that can be nice against Monument if they, especially game one. If you manage to counter the first copy and then get the rest, it can be really hard to win. But yeah, probably not good enough on average.
yeah, well, the deck can't really get rid of a monument in the first place because it's mono black. Maybe in something like blue
Right.
black. The other problem with Devious Cover is that it's really hard to how do you say to get the collect evidence ability because you don't have a ton of turn that go to the graveyard or cards that go to the graveyard. The cards that do cost 1 or 2 mana usually. So That deck is really bad at collecting evidence on turn 5. Once you've cast the first one, then obviously collecting
You
evidence
start
all,
chaining. Yeah.
yeah, all easier, but does
Candy Trail's not pulling enough weight on that front.
no, you need like to sack a Heat or an archive or maybe one of your Tezzerets to die, something like that to happen, but if not, it's rough. Trying to think if I've tried anything else. I've played a bit more of I had that black green mid range deck, was Obsessive Pursuit and Sentinels of the Lost City. The free four. I'm forgetting every card name. I think that's the name. The free four. Just
Yep.
just like
The Nameless City.
yeah, black green good cards. So I had Elf, I had Cub. My removal spell was Tragic Trajectory. I think that's pretty solid. With all the clues and stuff. And the idea was just try and abuse Obsessive Pursuit and Sentinels on my card advantage. Play a bit of top end, a little Sephiroth, but that didn't feel like anything special either.
Do you
Didn't
have
play.
any copies of Rotten Mouth Viper in your deck?
No, I don't have that many permanents to sack. I did get shown a list today that was pretty cool. It was all more all in on the sack synergy, but it was actually red black. So it had weapons manufacturing, obsessive pursuit, and the Viper was kind of the top end and one of the ways you had to sack a lot of permanent. That's another deck that could benefit from Blood Crypt. That's a deck was pretty horrendous mana base. So there's some cool jaunt lays. There was a jaunt lace was you're basically black green and you're splashing for the red green one free that gives you a lander and that deals 2 damage to your opponent whenever you sack an artifact or an artifact dies. So yeah, there's a bunch of really cool decks in standard right now that could definitely benefit from the new shock lands. It's hard to say if they're going to be good enough even with the shock lands, but I guess we'll see.
I'm waiting to see.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll get some thought seizes too or something like that, and they'll help as well.
Yeah, I didn't check the spoiler. The only card I heard about is that mutable generating creature. It's a 1/1 for green and 2 that just ramps you into a mutavault.
Is that a paper card or is that like an arena card?
No, I think it's a paper card. I think you just get like a
Really?
mutable token. So a
You
land that comes
wow.
into play tapped. They
I
were
think
th-
that was an arena card, like an alchemy card. And I know that they've done that before where they've used alchemy to like kind of test concepts. So maybe they it like conjured a mutavault. So then I guess you can just make a mutavault token like you said.
yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, that sounds powerful. That someone mentioned it when we were in the testing house in Seattle before Worlds. But yeah, I guess that's our little update on standards. I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add.
No, that's about it. I'll have a bigger update probably next week or the next episode. Um, yeah, I'm gonna be in the standard streets for the next little while.
Yeah, probably too. I don't know. I want to play modern. I want to play standard. I want to play pre-modern, which I don't know if you've ever played pre-modern.
I played a couple pickup games like between rounds at RCs, stuff like that. Like someone had two decks, but I haven't never played like a pre-modern tournament or anything like that. A lot of my friends are super into it though. They were very excited about the contraption update on Moto. So I don't think contraption is that's not what they're calling pre-modern, right? That's just kind of their stand-in for putting any format on Moto, and then this so happens to just be pre-modern as the first one, but it's kind of just like a placeholder for like anything, right?
Yeah, if you go on Moto, you go in constructed, and it's in specialty, and it says pre-modern friendly league contraption. So yeah, kind of exactly what you said. And they have friendly leagues right now. It's 6 tickets or 60 play points to play a league, and I think they're switching it to normal leagues in a few days. So it'll be the usual like 10 tickets or 100 play points. I remember building a couple pre-modern, but I never used them. Definitely was cool. The first deck I played was Drago, which is my first either my first or my second real constructed deck I've ever played was. So it was, Counterspell, Force Spike, Forbid, Nevinyrral's Disc, Whisper of the Muse. You basically, the win con was 4 Stocking Stones and a Rainbow Efreet. That's the only win con, and just tons of counter spells, disc. Um, I used to play Vision Charm. Do you know what Vision Charm does?
Oh,
The relevant
I know
mode
one of the
is
modes is phase out your a creature, right?
no close. The one relevant mode
No.
is important because of disc. It protects your disc and combos with it.
Oh, you phase out any permanent?
No, you phase out an artifact.
Oh, an artifact specifically. Okay.
Yeah, it's like
So you can
completely
activate your
random.
disc and then phase it out, and then you have it again.
Yeah, it was really important because a lot of time against the Trade Wind Rider decks, they had Uktabi, they had Trade Wind Rider, so it basically bought you a turn. Instead of having to wait turn 6 to play disc with counterspell backup, you could play it on 5
Mm,
and
right.
saving you the mana. Also just saving it from Trader the Trader in Rider like bounce. Sounds kind of narrow, but I guess that was like one of the best decks, one of the most popular decks at my LGS, and yeah, that was one of my first decks. So it's cool. I played that. I didn't do super well, and then I played Stasis. I don't know if you've ever played Stasis or against Stasis.
I have, yeah, in cube a few times.
In Cube? Who put Stasis
In
in their
cube, yeah.
Cube?
I played some degenerate cubes in my time.
That's insane. So Stasis was, I think, mostly, there was like the OG versions like Hauling Mine and Kismet. I don't think these decks were ever anything special, ever very good, but the one time I remember Stasis being good was in Extended, and it's after they printed Days, Gush, and Swarth. You got to play without Hauling Mine, you got to play just that mono blue Stasis deck, just super efficient. You could drop Stasis pretty early. They also started printing 1 mana boomerangs. Because before that, I think that the cheapest you could do was actual boomerang, 2 blue. But then they printed a card called Rescue, which is a blue instant, and you bounce one of your permanents. So pretty bad card, but pretty decent when really all you care about is bouncing Stasis. The one that was important, and then they also it had Urza Saga block. They also printed a Claws of Gix, which was cheap and a way to sack Stasis. And that deck was actually pretty good in extended. I remember one of my friends from the LGS at the time just winning a big extended PTQ was Stasis, and that felt pretty good. The deck also has some upgrades that weren't around back then. You get to play Chain of Vapor, which is a much better rescue. Just can save you. It saved me. I bounced a ball lightning to not die. It was even cool because I got to go bounce my stasis, sack a land, bounce your ball lightning. Because with Chain of Vapor, when you target your own permanent, you can basically
Fork it.
the permanent that's target the owner can decide to fork it. I think, or
Yeah,
maybe it's
that used to
just
be a
you.
trick in Legacy Storm as well, just like bouncing all your LEDs.
Mm, okay, yeah. So that was a big upgrade. And there's a card that's called, I think it's Forsaken City. That's a land that wasn't around at the time. It doesn't it that's for any color. It doesn't untap during your untap set, and you need to exile a card from your hand to untap it. So it lets you just pay for stasis even if you're not casting Gush or making a land drop, just getting rid of extra cards. It was kind of unclear. I played 4 copies. It was unclear if that card was even good at all. I don't think you won more than 1 or 2. Because sometimes it screws you around because it's not an island and there's Wasteland in the format, so that can be a straight up liability. But I felt like the deck was pretty good. There was a lot. I played against a lot of blue decks, like blue white control, splashing guys, blessing. I think Sandstill is pretty popular. Like it's a blue white standstill deck that kills with Decree of Justice. That's a deck that's pretty popular. I played against Enchantress, and I played against a lot of red decks. And I think if you look at the meta on Magic Online, it's a lot of mono red decks or goblin decks. A lot of them splashing green for naturalize, sometimes even naturalize in the main deck because there's stasis, oath. there's a bunch of decks that rely on artifacts and enchantments. So it was fun, nostalgia. Apparently, I mean, the format's going strong. People in my chat were saying that's the only format they play because a lot of people who don't know the format were like, oh, doesn't it get stale? There's no new cards. There is a ban list, but no new cards. And I don't know, people were just like, no, I've been playing it for like X amount of years and I just love it. I can't get enough. And I guess it's maybe somewhat balanced. There's a lot to play. The nostalgia is cool. You get to play with your old cards. Um, there's a good white black deck that's very similar to a white black deck I used to make top 8 at European Championship a long time ago. Just Gerard's Verdicts and um, some Decrees of Justice, Skeletals Crying as your card draw engine. Cards like Exalted Angel are uh, pretty popular in the format. So I
The
wonder.
OG sewer deck right there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I wonder if we're gonna have maybe bigger events in pre-modern now. Also, there's a worry that maybe the format might get all more solved. Was it being more popular on Magic Online?
Yeah,
So
that's what
so we'll
I was gonna
see.
say. That actually, that's always. So I love playing retro formats. I play a lot of retro formats in other games too, and that's always my biggest concern is that when you kind of port it to an official source, um, you get such a higher quantity of game. Like I would surmise that there was more games of pre-modern played on Moto this week than the entire year before that in paper, right? So the amount of extra knowledge you get in a format like this when you bring it to online can really lead down a rabbit hole that the people who love this format or these formats don't want. um but I heard similar sentiments from the people I know who play that the format is pretty balanced, and even though some strategies are known to be a little bit stronger than others, it's not by a lot, and people still like playing whatever strategy they like playing. There's a lot of options for combo, a lot of options for control, mid-range, aggro, that are all seemingly viable. So maybe it's just a great format. Who knows? I definitely want to try it out a little bit more than I have.
Yeah, I used to like. I think it was Pascal Menard who used to run these bring your own blocks tournaments for a while. I think I don't know if it was every Sunday, but there would just be 3 different sets, and you'd have to just build a deck of these 3 sets. So kind of short period of
Oh, you like
time.
you like draft a block or whatever, and then you have to build a deck using it. So it's not like a real retro format, right? Like you would play,
Mm-mm.
you would get like 3 unrelated sets, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
create a new format. I see.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that might be, I mean, I don't think they would ever do that for Pro Tours, but that could be. I don't know. It's just fun. It might not be super interesting, especially if the blocks are picked at random. There might be not a ton of synergy, and
Right.
there might be one clear best strategy, but just as a one of, or you play it once or twice and then you move on. Not that pre-modern
Totally.
is that, but they're just another format to play on Magic Online. Give me a sec.
Although I will say if you play pre-modern on Moto, I've been watching some YouTube videos or some streams of people streaming this format. You got to play with the old border cards. Like that seems like it should be a requirement to play pre-modern. I don't like tuning into a pre-modern stream and seeing people with post-modern card frames. What's going on there?
Yeah, I was playing on my Daybreak account, so that was nice. I got to pimp all the cards and get all the old borders, old arts for sure. I think the players I was playing against too also had. I feel like a lot of them had the old borders, which I'm not sure you would necessarily get if you were getting your cards through something like Mana Traders. So maybe I was playing against.
Yeah, if you mana creators it, you don't get to choose, which I assume a lot of the people who are trying out the format are doing something like that, so you can't really blame them.
Yeah, or maybe it was just a community of pre-modern players that they've been playing informally on Magic Online, and they already had their old bordered cards. But yeah, no, I have. what did I build? I think I built a recurring survival recurring nightmare deck was my paper cards, and I built maybe a goblins deck too. Um, but yeah, a lot of what I saw was a lot of blue decks. Blue black Psychotog I played against a couple times. Um, just a little worse than Psychic Frog, but it was still kind of getting the job done. Was Gush. I didn't have anyone cast Upheaval against me, but I'm assuming they play that card. There's all combo Upheaval Psychodog, Upheaval Zombie Infestation, and then just a lot of damage with Gush and Factor Fiction too. My Psychodog math was all rusty, but
Adding your 1.5s.
yeah, just
Figure it
knowing
out.
exactly, how much damage a Factor Fiction is, how much extra damage a Gush is. I did have some pretty sick games. I think I had two different games where I caught myself I was gonna use a wasteland on a land, and that would literally have been the like half a card they were missing to kill me. They had 13 damage and a half. They just needed one more card in there to kill me. So I'm glad I caught myself and then didn't just autopilot the wasteland there. But yeah, no, it was fun. Definitely looking forward to playing the format. Stasis was surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, fun. The only bad part was, oh yeah, that was a problem with that land too. It's like absolutely awful on Magic Online because the triggers goes on the stack every upkeep,
Oh
and
no.
you have to click no every time. So it's like a trigger and then clicking no. So almost that alone makes me not want to play the cards. Or yeah, not
That's
playing.
horrible for you since you don't yield to anything or use any keyboard shortcuts. So you're
Well,
just clicking.
well, I don't even think you can do the thing where you say no every time for some reason. Maybe it was
Oh,
user
strange.
error, but no, maybe it was me. I tried to like get it to a point where I was like clicking no, but and you're trying to deck people too for the most part. I was super skeptical. The list I saw had 4 black buys as a win con. You just stasis log them and then they can't cast spell, so they die to your black buys. But I was like, that's a lot of win cons. I wanted to play just like one stroke of genius, two stroke of genius, kind of play the long game and then just stroke them for like 10 cards or whatever when I when they have a few cards left in their deck. But I will say that the black vibes were kind of nice. So might stick to that build. And yeah, no,
I
just
think we're getting a challenge this week, or did we have a challenge last week already?
no, there was no challenge yet. No prelim, no challenge, I think. I know there's the Mox this weekend, the Mox Open.
Yeah. So yeah, this weekend there's a limited mocks open on both days. It seems like.
Yeah, the usual. Is there the first pre-modern challenge?
That's what I'm looking for. I thought I heard someone mention it, but I don't see any. So
Yeah. Are you gonna play the Mox? I'm traveling on Saturday. I might try and play the Sunday one.
so Sunday's gonna be a no go for me. So we're headed down to the States this weekend to visit Brittany's family for Christmas.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm gonna be driving 12 hours or so on Sunday. So that one's gonna be a no, but maybe
Oh,
I'll
you
try
guys
for it
are
on
driving
Saturday.
there.
Yeah.
I guess 12 hours for the States. It's like, yeah, I'm scrolling down the list of events. It doesn't look like we're getting our first pre-modern. I think maybe the real 10 tickets league go live like next Monday or Tuesday. So maybe not this weekend, but the weekend after that we'll have
The week after.
yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. I played a bit of modern too. I mentioned the lessons deck. That was like not super good. I played another league was my Wan Shitong mono blue deck. I got a Nassif 5-0. I went 3-2 and I felt like the two matches I lost I got pretty unlucky and deck was pretty solid. I was still playing the 4 Tamios, the 4 Shi Tongs. I was not drawing Shi Tong a lot, honestly, and whenever I was drawing it, it was quite strong. Um, just counter spells, bunch of 1 mana counter spells, the spell spear, spell snare, scolding, um, one of Billion Departure. I think I probably talked about that deck last week, but I thought it was pretty solid, honestly. The one big change I made was uh playing 4 disputes. I had one in the main and 3 more in the sideboard. That card is just really strong sideboard card right now. Feels like it's almost honestly more important than consign when you're playing a blue deck, or the Eldrazi is a little on the downtick. But yeah, fun deck, pretty powerful. I'll probably play it again at some point. Maybe I'll give it a go in the next modern challenge I play. If anyone loves blue cards as much as I do, and want to give that a try, you can check out my stream, check out my VODs and my deck lists, all that good stuff.
I'm surprised it's the only one copy of Mox Amber. I thought you'd be playing more of
I
those
was
with
actually
the.
playing. I think the updated version was actually like zero Mox Amber. I had
Oh, really?
yeah, I was being super disciplined. I cut one of the Bellions and I only had the 4 Tamios. So yeah,
And Washington too.
yeah, wash it down, but it's yeah. I don't know. I
Not
decided.
not the not the best thing to go with it, but it's not nothing. Like you could play a Washington with counterspell backup a little earlier, stuff like that.
Yeah, it was spell pierce, backup, spell pierce, spell snare. So as being, I don't know. I love Mux Amber, but I decided I'd be disciplined, and I guess I don't know if I missed it or not. Um, I don't know if you've
Yeah, I
played.
ended up playing some modern as well.
Okay,
So this past weekend was the Mana Traders year-end tournament,
all
like
right, yeah,
15K. It was free entry for anyone with 12 months of Mana Traders loyalty, I think is what they call it. So ended up playing that. I didn't test a whole lot for it. I only got a few days of testing in. Decided that I didn't really want to play Prowess again. I wasn't super feeling it. And honestly, I probably should have just played Boros Energy. I think that was probably the best choice going into the weekend. It seems to be doing pretty well online, but I had remembered the blue red cutter list that kind of popped up right before my regional championship that I didn't get around to testing, and then it ended up getting second place at the U.S. regional championship in the hands of I want to say Joseph Puglisi. I forget which one it was, one of the brothers. Um, but yeah, I decided to take the deck for a spin. I played it through some leagues. I ended up making some changes from what is kind of like the stock list that exists online. Basically, I just played some different artifact tutor targets. I kind of wanted to streamline it a little bit. I did play the Haywire Might that Joseph had, because that one felt pretty important and it was quite strong for me throughout the tournament and the leagues I played. And then I just had fewer copies of Flame of Anor because that card kind of felt pretty weak. I didn't really like it all that much, even though you do have 8 cheap wizards. It's just kind of really clunky in your deck that's meant to be super efficient. And I put 4 copies of Preordain in the deck because that card felt very important to me to kind of tie the room together, find your important legends, or to, just continuously trigger your Steel Cutter every turn. So yeah, I thought the deck was pretty decent. I didn't think it was like a fantastic choice or anything. More just wanted to have like some fun with the deck and see if I could make it a little bit better. And I think the deck definitely has some wheels. I did play 3 copies of Mystical Dispute, like you were talking about. I just felt that card was really strong against all the frog decks and blue mirrors, and pretty important right now. And then I had some Blood Moons and some extra Saga targets for certain matchups like Shadow Spear and Pithing Needle. I was testing Vexing Bobble and it didn't feel particularly strong and was just a little bit too awkward sometimes. Um, it could be worth a sideboard slot, but I ended up just playing an extra copy of Flame of Nor in the sideboard just for the grindy matchups.
yeah. Was your deck any good against Affinity? You don't have a ton of hate. You have the main deck Might and Unholy
Yeah,
Heat.
it's not fantastic. The fire magics can go a long way, but it is pretty tough to beat an early Kappa Cannoneer, to be honest. I think the original list had 2 copies of Vandal Blast,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
which admittedly is probably pretty important, but I kind of just decided to give up on the affinity matchup, I guess, or hope what I had was enough. I mean, Shadow Spear is pretty strong against them if their cap is not too fast or too big. Um, sometimes you can heat it if you can get up to 5 mana, which isn't too tough with Moxes. But yeah, certainly an uphill battle, I think.
Yeah, that's a deck I played a lot before Riddler. I thought Flame was pretty good, but it makes sense if you play Riddler to trim on that. And I always felt like basically the upside was not worth, having to battle through Rab the Skies and, between the inconsistent draws, the draws where you do your thing but get overpowered by Guide and Pride, and then whatever third of the format, or maybe it was a lot at the time. Maybe it's a little less now. I'm not sure, but having access to Rab the Skies made it a bit of a tough sell for me. Was Riddler strong for you in that deck?
Yeah, yeah, Riddler's incredible in this deck, I think. It's just honestly, I was really considering just playing the fourth copy over that one Flame of Anor that I have in the main deck, just because like it's so good. Like you said, the deck can kind of have some disjointed draws. You end up mulliganing a little bit more than the average deck, I think. But in all of those situations, Riddler is kind of really good at tying the room together, and that's another reason why I added the preordains to kind of just, try to shore that up or make that less awkward when possible. And your deck has a lot of mana, and Riddler's just a great way to use it. You're really good at hard casting it after warping it, earlier than some other decks would, and sometimes you can haste it with your Quarry Steel Cutter or what have you. So. Yeah, I think the Riddler's a pretty massive upgrade for the deck, and kind of is exactly what it needed.
Yeah, another card I mentioned before the recording we're talking about the deck was Levidart. I like Levidart in small numbers in
Hmm.
these decks because it's good with Steel Cutter. It's generally good in the meta. Lots of Ragavans, and you can self mill it with Emery. So just
Totally.
pretty
Yeah,
pretty
I
solid
I would have
card.
played a copy of Lava Dart actually had I thought about it. I think that would have been really good. I actually ended up making some changes to the mana base, so I think the stock list has like fiery islets and spire bluff canals, but I just played more fetch lands, um, more basic lands, and I have that extra dual land because of the Haywire Might. The extra fetch lands are nice with your baubles as well, of course, and all of that means that you're going to have access to more actual mountains for Lavadar too, so that's going to be a nice added upside there too.
Yeah, Riddler's such a messed up card. I had couple copies of Riddler in the main deck of my Mono Blue deck. Card just so silly. I was wondering if we shouldn't have had at least a Riddler in our main deck at Worlds, just because card is so good. It bails you out when you mulligan sometimes, and no, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, totally believable. It's like Reed said, right? When we were trying to figure out how many Riddlers to play on our sideboard, it's he kind of just looked at us and said, no one's really gonna regret registering Quantum Riddler in their sideboard at any tournament. So, it's kind of hard to go wrong.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, cool. Yeah. I guess anything else you want to talk about this week?
Yeah, I mean, modern. Obviously, we're not gonna have a lot of events coming up. I think we're going to be mostly standard for focus going forward, but I do think that if anyone has any modern worth playing, that this blue red deck is worth looking at. But um, yeah, I don't know how much more work I'm going to be putting into it personally.
Yeah, I'm not sure what would be my real go-to modern deck right now if I was going to a Spotlight series or an RC. You don't have to make that choice anytime soon, as you said. I think the RCQs are still standard. I think the Spotlights are standard, and does your Spotlight Atlanta also have that limited qualifier on the Sunday?
It does, yeah, and
Yeah,
that was actually I was really considering not going, and then a friend of mine said, there's the limited qualifiers now too, right? And that kind of
tiebreaker.
flip the switch on me booking the flight. So a nice little contingency, even if I don't make day two, I have an opportunity to qualify for that.
Yeah, there's one in Lyon, not too far from where I live, January 11th. So that weekend.
Yep, it's the
So
same weekend as Atlanta.
yeah, I think we fly home from the States just before those. So I might be jet lagged, and I'll see. Maybe I'll go now that I even own a standard deck, which is a rare thing. Might not even really have to borrow cards. Um, but yeah, do you wanna? Should we put our lives on the line?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So for those of you who are new, Life on the Line is a theoretical tournament. If you win, you live. If you lose, you die. And Edgar and I need to bring a deck for each of the formats we've talked about. So this week is going to be standard, modern, and I'm going to put you on the spot with pre-modern.
Premodern.
We didn't talk about
Okay,
timeless at
okay.
all. I'm excited though. We didn't mention there's a Arena Championship this weekend. Timeless, which is kind of the vintage of Arena. And our teammate Matt Nass qualified. He practiced was Arna, Andre, and I saw the screenshots. Was the fourth person in their Discord chat today. Anyways, Arna or Andre in typical Andre fashion posted on Twitter that they broke the format. So I think I'm not sure he says that super lightly either. I think he usually means it when he says it. So it'll
He
be
has had a
interesting
good
to
track
see.
record of doing
Yeah,
that, so maybe they actually did.
yeah. So that's like yeah. There's a bunch this weekend. There's that to watch, and then there's the Mox Opens. Um, Pretty modern coming up next week. But yeah, let's see. I'll go first. So standard, I would play. Is it lesson? Was the probably a few tweaks we talked about this week and last week. In modern, life on the line in modern. I have no idea. I'm literally loading up goldfish as we speak. Honestly, that mono blue deck felt pretty good. I felt like it lines up fine in a bunch of the matchups too. I would just play my mono blue Wan Shitong deck. It's a Wan Shitong deck. That's what I call it because that's a new card. But really, to me, it might be the real MVP there. That card just carries a lot of game. And in pre-modern, I would play another mono blue deck. I would just play uh Stasis.
You're the no fun police this week then, it seems like.
Yeah, lots of blue cards.
All right, so for me, yeah, definitely playing Isn't Lessons in Standard. Been pretty happy with my build, playing a couple of Nulls main, maybe trimming on some of the removal spells. Um, yeah, so definitely going to go with Isn't Lessons, going to keep tweaking that. For Modern, I do love that Cutter deck, but I do think it's probably a step below. I wouldn't really recommend it, and I definitely would not put my life on the line for that one. So if I had to, I would reluctantly play Boros Energy this weekend.
Is that what you
If
lost to in the Mana Trader tournament?
um no, I think I lost to Affinity.
Also, do you know what won the Mana Trader tournament?
Yeah, man. So they split the top 8, and it was
Okay.
2 Boros Energy and like 2 Affinity and 2 Prowess and a Jeskai Blink and a Storm.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten around. I said I would, but the salvage Titan version of Affinity, the one was for manufacturing and like a couple salvage Titan. That still sounds like a good build to me, a good idea, and I see that list do well a lot of the time. All right,
Yeah, definitely
so
could.
Boris
Yeah,
Energy
so
for modern.
yeah, I would play some Boros Energy with um probably with some Roku's in the main deck. I think would be kind of my hot take on that deck.
Okay.
And then for pre-modern, definitely it's gonna be tough to put my life on the line, but I mean the one deck that I played a little bit with was in the pickup games I played was Alurin. So
Okay.
and that deck is kind of fun. You gotta play with Survival of the Fittest, a bunch of toolboxy creatures. I love toolbox decks. And then
The Lurin version of Premodern has survival of the fittest. Okay.
yeah, yeah, no reserve list in pre-modern, so you got to play with that. Um, yeah, you have access to Cavern Harpy. I don't remember if there's a infinite combo or not. But regardless, you have this big toolbox, and you kind of get an overwhelming advantage. You got to play with Squee, Goblin, and Bob as well. All
Okay.
the good shit. So yeah, I would play Alurin. That deck seems fun.
Yeah, that was another solid extended deck for a while. It was yeah, Cavern Harpy. Trying to remember the win con. If there was probably something that pinged you. Or maybe you did Infinite Life. You could also like bounce Wall of Blossoms. You need some kind
Yeah,
of
you
Soul
gotta
Guard, Soul Warden, right? What's a live gain card that gets you going? You know, that keeps you going,
Spike Feeder. I think
right?
is the one that you can get Infinite Life with Spike Feeder and Cavern Harpy. I think
Yeah,
you might
makes
need something
sense.
else.
No, that's you gain 2 life. Oh, no, that's neutral, right? No, you bounce the Harpy.
No, yeah, that's plus 1 life because it's just 1 life to bounce the Harpy, right? And then you
Yeah,
bounce the Spike Feeder with the Harpy. So yeah, that makes sense.
trying to think, but yeah. I know because the Harpy bounce. You pay 1 life to bounce the Spike Feeder, but then you have to bounce the Harpy itself, and
No, no, no. The Harpy ETBs and bounces the Spike Feeder
but then you have to bounce the Harpy to your hands.
with the activated ability.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, so it's just 1 life for yeah. Cool. Basic interactions explained here on the Midweek Metagame podcast. That's what I'm sure you
That's what we're
all,
here for.
yeah, what you all tune in
Reading the
for. Yeah,
cards.
reading the cards and basic sequencing. Cool. Well, that was the fun episode. I'm hoping to hopefully that pre-modern thing is enjoyable. We'll see if it takes a bigger place, but I could definitely see getting to some leagues, some challenges in the near future. Hopefully I do focus a bit though on standard as I should, even though the format's gonna be shaken up a little bit.
Thank you, bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think regardless on whether or not pre-modern kind of pops off on Moto, I think it's going to be. I think this contraption idea is going to be cool, where you get to kind of showcase these formats and then pick or choose which ones you want to have a little bit more staying power. I think that's going to open up a lot of cool possibilities on Moto, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, did they say anything about that? Like, these bring your own blocks format could be an idea, or bring back maybe old block constructed. Did they say anything more?
I think they just kind of left it open ended. Like it could just be anything, basically. It's just like a hub to give them the opportunity to, inject temporary formats into the ecosystem and then roll with it if they want to. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, the possibilities are endless.
an idea that I always thought would be cool was just revisit old Pro Tour formats.
Hmm.
Just replay formats of the PTs I played in, and either replay the decks I played, see if they're any good, or tweak them, or just come up with something completely new, or a deck I missed. Um, that I think that could be a cool idea. Another kind of short term thing to mix it up a bit. But yeah, if you made it this far, as always, thank you so much for listening. Edgar, where can people find you online, or maybe even reach out to you?
Yeah, you can reach out to me or find me on either social media platform at Edgar MTG, um, and feel free to shoot me a message.
Cool. You can finally mostly streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/yellowhat. Also have a bunch of YouTube channels. I just uploaded part one of the world's vlog. I got part two pretty much ready to go. Might upload that tomorrow, um, today or tomorrow. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Hope you all have a great week. We're probably recording during the holidays. I should have, or are you gonna have? Are you gonna be able to record if you're at Brittany?
I'm gonna be remote. I should still be able to record. Hopefully, my audio quality is not too bad, but we might have to play that by ear once I get
Yeah,
there.
we'll play it by ear. Might depend on you know technical issues. Might depend on if we've actually played enough Magic to talk about stuff. Even though we can always ramble about this to have results, it's not too hard to do. Something we enjoy. Um, But yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
listening,
we'll try to make it work.
yeah,
Hopefully.
hope people have a good week, good start to their holidays, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.
Bye everyone. Happy holidays.